Let's talk about scripting for your podcast. So, where do you land? Where do you land on writing a script before your podcast? I've had clients in my podcasting studio who do it both ways. Or actually multiple ways. I don't know if there are just both ways, two ways. Some people come in with a detailed, almost down to the word script for their show. And then other people come in with kind of a loose outline. And then others just hit record and see what happens. As a best practice, I think it probably makes sense to put together a game plan for every episode. I'm going to lean towards scripting. Just the process of putting together a script, even if you don't stick to it very well, it will improve your content because you're thinking about it, you're mentally structuring it before you get behind the mic, before you hit record, before you're across the desk from a guest. So as a best practice, who a best practice, I think it makes sense to put together that game plan, even if it is only mental. So I'm biased towards scripting, but let's talk about a few of the benefits of putting together a script for your show. A few. I jotted down 5, and I can think of several more. Number one, writing a script keeps your content clear and concise. Clear and concise. For some people, it's easy to ramble and get off on a tangent. We know those people, they can be very fun to talk to in person. For a podcast, it may not be the ideal scenario. That's okay on a podcast in small doses. But if you tell your listeners that you're going to talk about why writing a script is good for your podcast, and then you end up on a tangent about um, coffee beans and how coffee beans are grown, like you're not delivering on the promise that you made at the top of your show. So tangents, okay in small doses, but your listeners might not love it. Benefit number 2 is that a script saves you time during editing, or it can. If you lose your train of thought, if you stumble, if there's a pause, and this has happened to me, like I can think of one particular interview that I did that it was a nightmare. I just couldn't stay focused. I was all over the place. I had to stop and just be like, well, okay, just hang on for a second. Dear guest, I promise, let's just pause. I can edit this. Okay, let's get back into this. And the guest was very gracious, but like I drove home that afternoon. I was like, God, that was terrible. So if you lose your train of thought, your script will get you back on track, and possibly you may not even need to edit. Like if you feel yourself going off the rails, you can just look down, see a keyword or see a question, and hop back in. And the listener may not even know it, even without editing. So that's good. Also, without a script, finding and fixing long pauses, restarts, and other hiccups can be a headache during your editing process. Number 3, the third benefit, and this is important to me. I don't know if it's important to you, but a script helps you say what you mean and then mean what you say. Some people, again, myself included, can express themselves much more effectively and accurately through writing rather than speaking. And with a script, I should say, you can ensure that you're saying what you truly intend to say. Number 4, scripting rescues you from ums, ahs, and filler words. So we've all had those cringe moments where we listen back to what we thought was a pretty articulate conversation, and we discover just the horror, just the nightmare, just the the bloodbath of filler words that we've left in our wake. So yes, I'm looking at you, so, and kinda, other filler words like that. I've realized another killer word a filler word I use is now, and so I'll often say, "So now, we do blah, blah, blah," or "Now, blah, 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 blah," and it's just a filler word. It's just a crutch. Scripts are killers for fillers. Remember that. Scripts are killers for fillers, and I wrote that, and that's original. Maybe I'll put it on a t-shirt. Number 5, you can easily repurpose your content into other formats when you have a script. Think about it. Written words are the backbone of creative content. Once your ideas are down on paper or in a Google Doc, like mine is right here, it's easy to turn that writing into other formats: blog posts, Instagram posts, LinkedIn posts, and much, much more. Books, even. If you script ahead of time, you don't have to spend as much time going back and transcribing your show because you know the basic format, you know the basic structure, you know what you were going to say during your show. So, those are a few of the benefits of scripting out your podcast episode before you record. Now, let's talk about how to actually do it, how to script your episode. here's where our friend Google comes in really handy. If you simply Google podcast script template, you'll find plenty of examples, lots of great examples. I'll share an example over on our website, which is podcastingforfunandprofit.com. That's podcastingforfunandprofit.com. Let me just share a general format you might want to use, the elements that you might want to put in the order that you might want to put them in. So right at the top of your script is a great place for a sponsor message if you have one. If you have a sponsor, that's where you drop that. Say a few nice words about the person or business sponsoring you. And then the next step is you want to quickly introduce who you are and what the topic of the day is. When I say quickly introduce, I'm talking 30 seconds, maybe a minute, just a quick introduction. After that, it's a decent place for a little jingle or audio branding. I have this in my show. Let me just play it. I'm not going to blow your ears out, but that beat that comes in at the top of the show, it's just kind of oh yeah, this is Leighton's show. This is how we get the show started. Next, after that little music jingle or your audio branding, now's a good time to offer a little longer explanation of the episode, maybe tease a little bit about your guest too. This is also a decent place if you have housekeeping items, updates about yourself, your podcast, anything new with you, you can drop that in right there before you really get into the meat of the episode. Speaking of the meat of the episode, now it's time after you've said hello, after you've quickly introduced and teased the show a little bit, unpacked it just a touch. Now you can get into your main topics. And for each topic, what you want to do is introduce the big idea and write down a few bullet points to help out your conversation. So what do you want in those bullet points? Well, a few solid ideas for bullet points for each topic will be, and you can cover multiple topics. So this is just you can cut and paste this format for each topic that you have. So a few supporting quotes or pieces of data. And if you're with a guest, if you're talking with a guest, how about taking something that they've written, something that they've created, something that they've put out in the world, and have them respond or give them a chance to remark about something that they've said. Unpack that a little bit and let their content drive your conversation with them. Now, once you've worked through the topics of your interview, remember I said you can take that format, those bullet point ideas, and have 2 or 3 or 10 topics that you want to cover. And then in your back pocket, those bullet points will be, your aids, your assists in there to help keep that conversation for each of those topics going. Once you've worked through all those topics, think about inserting a brief wrap segment. In this segment, you can share a big takeaway. I like that. I like having a takeaway, a quick, one-liner about something new that maybe came out of that conversation. And you can also deliver a call to action to your listener. So this is where you say, hey, I've got more content over on here. I've got extra stuff for you over at Patreon. Go check out my Instagram, go check out my website, things like that. A call to action, something for your listeners to do next. Also, now after you've done that, right before you leave, it's a great place to tease your next episode. So leave your listener wanting more, and then tell them what's coming next so they can go, oh man, I can't wait for that next episode to come out. Okay. And that's about it. Again, scripting can be as simple as writing a few words on a Post-it note, or you can do what I've done here. I've literally written every word out that I'm going to say word for word. And hopefully, if you're going to do that, I have this habit of writing sort of the way I talk or the way I want to talk. And that's what I do with my script. So I don't worry about what my 10th grade English teacher might think about my script. If it's 100% grammatically correct, or if I start sentences with but or and, whatever, if I end sentence with prepositions, all those things, those rules that you learn, I'm really not worried about that. I want my script to sound like I talk, and I organize it in a way that makes sense to me. So the trick for you is do what works best for you and what's going to provide the best service to your listener. That's the tip. All right, that's our episode for today. Friends, if you're liking what you're hearing, share this podcast with a friend. I'd really appreciate it. Love to grow the podcast and help more and more people and connect with more people and talk to, get to meet some new people. And if you've got a topic you think we should cover or someone you think we should chat with, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm at Podcast Fun and Profit on Instagram. You can email me at friendlypodcastcoach at gmail.com. That's it, friends. I'll see you next week.